Our next session is called the African-German Story Booster. Win-win scenarios for African and German filmmakers with a focus on 3 projects: Country Queen, and another one which is currently in development, which is a Kenyan-German eco-thriller, and also Namibian-German Afro-Neo-Western. Unfortunately for you all, you don't have PY, you have me to moderate. Our guests are Ravi Karmalker, the director of Good Karma Fiction of Germany, India, and Kenya. We have Jean-Alexandre Sacha, Ntivyihabwa, of Signed Media of Germany and Burundi. And we also would like to welcome Friederike Kärcher, who's head of division policy issues of cooperation with Africa of the German.
All the easy topics. But my heart really is with the creative industries. Before this position, I was head of our division for creative industries, and our mission really was to turn culture into an economic factor, to make people aware of the fact how much creativity and talent there is in partner countries, young people involved in the sector, and how this potential could be tapped and used, and to move a little bit away from culture as a soft issue and more towards the great economic benefits it carries. I'll leave it here for the moment.
Thank you. And Jean-Alexandre?
Yeah, my name is Jean-Alexandre Sacha Ntivyihabwa. I'm Afropean, like it was said before, African-German, more precise and very precise. African, or like a German Burundi, this is really my origin. Starting off my professional career, I studied African languages and the social anthropology. Everybody was thinking, "Ooh, what is this boy doing with this kind of study?" German side and African side of my family. And very similar, like what I heard before, was really like my chance to getting into media was through prop music, through hip hop, through MTV, VH1 coming to Germany, which really gave me the option to focus on Black storytelling. Like in the beginning, really in a token way, I have to say, because this was still in the 90s. And from there on, I was able to build myself into public German television, starting my own company and focusing on Black narratives, Black storytelling, mostly in documentary, in the field of documentary. And one important point is that I think the first productions, or all productions in the last 10 years on the documentary level, were all on commission of German public television and was not really a co-production. And now I've been telling to a couple of people here with producing a 2-piece documentary on Nigerian history, also looking for, or partnering up with the corporations in Nigeria, looking also for stakeholders in Nigeria to make it also a German-African co-production. And maybe one important fact to know is that Ravi and me, we know each other for a very long time. We grew up together, so the whole upbringing, also pop culture upbringing, is something that brings us together. And it's just recently, like a couple, I think 5 years ago, that really teamed up as a co-producing team. And maybe we can talk about this a little later. Oh.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ravi Karmalker from Good Karma Fiction International. And I'm in the business and the industry for over 30 years now. Mostly working for public broadcasters like ARD and ZDF here in Germany for a long time. And from 2016 on, working in Kenya with Kenyans on 2 projects, which were funded also by BMZ and conducted by Friederike. We're going to talk about this later. One was the high-end series Country Queen, which is on can be seen on Netflix and Arte. And the second one was Chagu, a feature film, a Romeo and Juliet adaptation, which also can be seen on Netflix. And because of the good experiences working together in Africa with African colleagues, we invented the A Good Story Booster, which is meant to push for Afropean. So I think this is a term which has been used quite often now this morning. I hope it's not copyright worthy, but we say it's an Afropean co-production initiative, the Good Story Booster, and we're going to tell about that as well, and how much this also is resulting out of the cooperation with the ministry, with Friederike, on Country Queen. Thank you.
And as you've just mentioned, Country Queen, can you tell us about it and tell us how you came on board as part of this public-private initiative?
Yes, but I think we have to really start with them who initiated it. So I think if Friederike starts with the whole initiative, and then I'll take it from there.
Sure. So Country Queen is the first high-end series, Kenyan high-end series consisting of 6 parts and a very exciting story revolving around a young woman who lives in Nairobi and then returns back to her home and is faced with her past and traditions and mining issues and land grabbing. So many socially relevant issues and, role of women are part of the series. Ravi will talk about it more because for the creative content, he and the team, they have to take all the credit. You may wonder why is, this person from the ministry here and what does she have to do with film? As I said, our mission really was to put a spotlight on the opportunity in many African countries in the creative industries. And what better way than to support and promote the film sector? Because, films just spending 90 minutes in a film, you just take so much more than with any report, or of course, being there in person. At the time, 2017, the minister at the time launched an initiative, Future Market Film. And we put out a press release for the Berlinale 2017 saying, we are looking for productions and partners in the film sector, and then Good Karma Fiction, in the person of Ravi, knocked at the door. That's how it started, very small, and it was really our venture project. Our idea was to start a public-private initiative where we would fund the pilot film for the series. And the original idea was that this pilot would be taken up by the Kenyan industry, that the sector and the broadcaster or production company would invest in the project, and that it would create that it would create jobs, of course, increase income. Yes, and it didn't exactly go like that. It had a different, but still, I would say different happy ending, but still a happy ending, which is what counts. Which is that not the Kenyan market came in, but eventually Netflix and Arte came on board, and of course that's also something that you can discuss, but that kept the series alive and made it see the light of the world, so to say. And our reasoning behind this really was threefold. One was to promote the industry, create jobs, offer practical training on the jobs. Most people don't know, for example, that in Nigeria the film sector makes up a much bigger part of the GDP than, for example, agriculture. And that's so important that people know this here, because we need other news from the continent than crises or war. There's so much talent, so much creativity, and this sector tells that story. So that's why we supported that. Then, of course, media diversity, formation of opinion, and with that came social change. When you have a film like Country Queen, you immediately start discussions on the role of women, the mining sector, of course, but other films like, of course, you probably know Rafiki in Kenya, homosexuality, and these issues are introduced via film in a very broad manner and democratic way. Of course, eventually we wanted to build structures to really have build the entire industry, not just one project, but increase the impact of the industry. And the third issue really is that the creative sector is one where you really meet on level ground. When we talk about development cooperation, very often in the energy sector, you bring in high tech, you have to train people. But when the resource is creativity, that's something that is universal. And that's something where we learn, where we here in the North, the so-called global North, we can learn from our partners. And that's crucial in these times. So that was another reason for us to invest. Although in 2017, we had no idea whether the series would fly. And this is where I'll hand back to Ravi so he can tell you the success story.
Yeah, well, Contract Queen started with a writing room, and it's also started with a different approach than normally Westerns or people from the global North would approach Kenyans in Kenya. So we started as a learning on the job project where my partners and me, coming from Europe, meeting Kenyan colleagues over there, trying to build up a storyline and so on, tried to do it on eye level, right from the beginning, learning on the job. So this was a very unique experience. And we went through the different stages. And finally, it ended up as a high-end series, which was sold then to Netflix and Arte. So there we are. But what we very much liked was the freedom, was the ministry and Friederike convincing us to go new roads or to choose new roads of cooperation, right? And so yeah, but that's actually something, I don't know, maybe you just ask in order because there's so much to tell, so I wouldn't know where to start. Maybe
just one issue. I think yes. the script, everything was written by Kenyan partners. Yeah. So, you kickstart the process, but then, there was a selection of a process in Kenya. There were Kenyan writers. They picked the topics. They decided we want a female lead in the series. And what we really appreciated was that you brought in experts from Brazil. The original idea was a telenovela. So there was South-South cooperation, not German experts, but Brazilians coming in and interacting with Kenyan colleagues, which I think is special.
That's true. So we were asking, yes, that's how it started. So we were asking and did a research on what Kenyans would like to see in a high-end series. So it started from there, and then discussing this for a month with a writers' room of 10, and revolving around a first idea how the story could develop. And out of this came a pilot with which we started now traveling through Europe, trying to find partners here, which was very, very difficult in the beginning. Because still, we are talking about 2019, where then people were not really open regarding a series which would come out of Kenya. So nobody was interested. And I heard this morning, so who would be interested in seeing this in Europe? So we encountered this attitude quite often. So it was quite difficult also to find partners. But by the way, through Sacha, a door opened at Arte. Maybe you just would like to tell about that.
Yeah, I think many things came really together that maybe Ravi and me, we knew each other for a long time. So I knew also what he was doing in Kenya. And like I said before, me producing for many years, mainly for ZDF Arte, NDR Arte. And there's one person I really have to mention him, Wolfgang Bergmann, who's ZDF Arte director, a person who really, because also like Tyrone said in the beginning, as a black producer in Germany, you're always dependent on white people. So if you really come up with black perspectives only, you be neglected. And also a word that I heard before, like sometimes doors are opening. Just like as a producer, you constantly have to find the right moment to bring your project through the door. And I think Ravi and me, we didn't even have the plan to do it. So I was in ZDF and I had a meeting and I dropped it. And it was just the little, angle that I thought, okay, it might go through. And then also the commissioning editor for fictional series, he was brought up. And then, like on my way back to Cologne, I told Ravi, man, we got it. So it's, and then also very interesting is I think it was 4 years ago, we all came together with the broadcaster. Also by then we had Luxembourg Film Fund. They stepped out again. So we brought all things together and was like in the ministry in Friederike's office or in the room that really the first time everybody came together and we really thought, okay, this could happen as a really African-German co-production. Maybe also one side to be mentioned here is AAA, Pascal. I think he's sitting outside. So he was our African partner in the project. And I think this was really the opportunity that we brought everybody together with the right moment. And first of all, that we had Ravi as a showrunner and executive producer to really bring it to a positive end. And maybe to end it like 3 weeks ago, we were nominated also for Grimme Prize. So it's a nice reward after all that years of struggling and, trying to get through the door. So, we finally made it. And maybe to take it to the next step, as a result of that, Ravi, also together with Jamo, another producer from us, they did the Chaguo next film that came out of it, also with Vincent and Baya, same producer. So the whole setup just went in the second phase and did the second film. And last year in November, maybe then I can end up already other projects were brought to the table. We're still in post-production with the Country Queen. And then the Story Booster already took path because other people attracted us and said, come on, can we follow that model?
So being a Jamaican Brit, we're not so exposed to African European stories or African stories. We can find them, but we have to make an effort. So I'm finding it really rich to hear about your project and to know that these are happening. But why do you think there is a focus now when there wasn't this momentum before? Why do you think now is the time?
I think a lot of things are happening right now or have been happening in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I think a big factor is that the major companies are settling in sub-Saharan Africa. That's something like it's Netflix, it's Amazon, it's Disney Plus, it's Canal Plus, which is a subsidy of Universal. So they are all there now and trying also to cope with filmmakers in different African countries to set up a range of African stories, be it series or feature films. So I think this is pushing the development very much so. And so if you look, international experts are also assuming that Africa is the next growing market. So that's something which is this is a narrative, I think, which also helps us pushing the idea. The reason why we are putting up the booster is because of the good experience. I said it in the beginning, because it was such a fun to work together with the Kenyan colleagues. And it worked so well in 2 projects that we think like this shouldn't only be the beginning. And the people here in the West or in Germany or in the global North are not aware how easy it is to produce high-end quality with African colleagues. So we would like to promote this idea, not only theoretically, but also through productions. And we are very glad that we can refer to 3 new productions which are on the move, which are partly funded. We're going to talk about it later, where you can see now a co-production between Germans or Europeans and African filmmakers is much more possible today and will be much more possible in the next years than it was only 3 or 4 years ago when we struggled so hard with Country Queen kissing alive, So
maybe just to add to that, what brings us back to the sector kicking in as an economic factor, I think, is not to be underestimated. And many companies and streamers are seeing this now. And that's why, for example, our mission is to collect data. We need to convince, for example, not the ministers of culture in partner countries, but ministers of finance and the economy, that it's worthwhile to invest here, that it's worthwhile to come up with tax rebates, for example. But of course, this only happens when you have sufficient data of on what the sector can do. And of course, Netflix, it's a very strict calculation. When I think when they started in Kenya, you could only pay Netflix service with credit card, but only 2% of the people there had a credit card. So now they're using Pesa. So that brings in more clients, and they only provide funding based on, you know, the number of the clients they have in the country. So in the end, we're really talking economics here, and I think that's why it's important to collect data, to have these models or examples of success, and to pitch those. Yeah. And I had one last disclaimer. I have to bring that, of course, in times of tight budgets, that goes for the German budget as well, unfortunately. So, you know, it sounds as if we are funding all these single productions now, which we cannot anymore right now. I hope this will change in the future. Plus, we're also more looking towards structural change. So not going from one production to the next, but something like the German African Story Booster, where we're talking about a commitment for several years, several productions where you can change the local industry more sustainably. That's something that could be interesting in the long run.
Yes, and I think what I like about the idea is that you create a synergy, because focusing on one project only is an effort which is worthwhile, but sometimes, you know, it ends then also with, you know, you have the production ready and there you are. But, you know, having a roof like a good story booster is something where you can push a few productions simultaneously, and you can create a synergy, which I think is something nice to happen. And also open the circle of discussion with all the colleagues there. Right now, we are working together with filmmakers in Kenya, in Namibia, in South Africa, and at the Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. So exchanging a lot of theoretical thoughts about and figures and numbers, approaches, but also working concrete together with them on narratives, on series to come. So that's a really, really fruitful exchange, right? So we would like to push even more in the next, this year, I think, and in next year, sorry.
How do you see the local markets being boosted? How do you see the local markets being boosted by this umbrella model of commitment for, you know, a number of years and working with different countries?
If I may, yeah. So I think there are a few ways to do so, but we can talk about our way. So what we think is, and what we're trying to achieve is to push for two markets. And for two, you know, we say like we would like to bring filmmakers together from both parts of this world, Africans and Europeans, in front and behind the camera. We would also like to satisfy audiences in both worlds. So there we are also with the local markets and the local audiences. But it's also, and we see that we have to respect both markets and also the desires or the needs of both markets, and that's what we want to bring together. So in the narratives we are just developing right now, we are constantly talking with Germans, for instance, and with the colleagues there in different countries. So what could be the need also in the narrative, but also on the production side? So it's a very delicate process, which will take years in order to find a line and something, a fresh approach, a fair approach, a democratic approach, to create a situation of eye level, which isn't there yet. I think everybody would agree that there's still a big gap between Africans and European German filmmakers, and you can name them. There are so many differences which still have to be leveled, but it's not something which goes now. It takes years. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
So am I back? Yes, I'm back. So although you what you've been doing has been a springboard of success, what would you say have been the main challenges that you've had to navigate through?
The main challenges?
Yeah, main challenges.
Too many?
Like what Ravi just said, I think maybe first of all, maybe I can say the challenges every project brings in their challenges, because it's depends on the story, depends on the circumstances, depends on the shared history that we might discuss. So I think every every project needs a very special angle. And maybe to bring or discuss one of the stories that you just mentioned is like the German Namibian-German that goes really into the core of shared history. And like we said before, there's many stories that haven't been told. Like if you compare how many stories have been dedicated to, for example, to like a Western, it's the same story. Like it's like also like a colonial expansion dropped into a film format, or like the German discussion about the Second World War, Holocaust. Like it's a constant and very important part of German cinema, but German colonialism, for example, hasn't been discussed at all. And I think these stories, and there's a lot of stories that even go beyond all stories like the first German black policeman from the East. So there's a lot of stories that need to be told. And when it comes, for example, to this Namibian story, it is a shared history. So how do we approach it? Who is writing it? Who is bringing what to the table? And then also what Ravi says, and I want to also refer to somebody who I think he was sitting in this chair before, like in a purely capitalistic surrounding. It's difficult to have, money is coming from the global north if we want to share it, and then really to see how do we find an eye level, how do we find equal pay, and at the end also for Ravi and me, at the end also how do we make our living then, So this is all things that have to be discussed. And I think this is also why I'm very happy that Friederike is here, because, and also that we have a strong public domain here in Germany, because I think it needs to have public ideas and public funding to make such films. It shouldn't be left to the pure economic market alone. It's my guess. Yes.
Yeah. May I add to that? Because the economic factor is maybe one of the biggest challenges. So if you want to create high-end, you need a lot of money. A lot of money right now can be mostly found in the so-called West or in the global North. And so this will keep us running for the next years. So if we want to have something nice on screen or in cinemas, we have to collect money over here. So that's what we're going to do. But, it will take some years till the creative industries will be running more and more over there. So that also, they have another economic circle where money can be poured into the projects. That's what we are facing right now. So this is one of the challenges, but also convincing public donors, but also, broadcasters over here, streamers over here, also, film funds. We have a lot of film funds in Germany to invest in such. But we were lucky, I have to say, that, the Namibian project is called Jacob's Blood. It's about a freedom fight. It's a true story. And we are developing a 6 to 8 episodes, high-end series out of that, which was funded by the Film Fund in Hamburg. And
I had one commentary that I just picked up also from Tyrone. Who's going to show that? And then also a talk that I just had with the Nigerian colleague here about funding in Germany, how difficult it is to be funded with such a project. And what we heard, we got funded, but at the same time, we got a commentary from a public German broadcaster. But who's going to show that? And this is referring to a hard piece of German colonialism. So this is where we are still at. I think we have to understand where we are at. Also, like for the moment, again, Tyrone said, I think 2018, 19, also when we went through ZDF Arte with the Country Queen, it was a nice moment. It was just before many things changed again. And for the moment, I think, especially when we see Germany, there's also a lot of backwards movement. So we have to see that as well. So a lot of doors are opening, but at the same time, a lot of people are cutting funds. And a lot of people, especially in Berlin, they would like to see so many people discussing issues like that in here. This is a true fact.
Yeah. But still, maybe to add the political issue to that is that actually right now with the current government for the first time dealing with our colonial past is part of the coalition agreement, and the debate about dealing with this past has picked up publicly. In my opinion, personal opinion, it focuses too much on returning colonial heritage. That's of course a very, very important factor, but it concerns much more, like what do we read in our school books, and how do we, when we have negotiations with our partner countries, of course, the North, we come with the funds, and that immediately creates inequality. How do we deal with that? So the discussions have started, and what is important to us is that we use this process of dealing with the past and turn it into something positive. And one Nigerian governor, actually, there was an interesting article. He said, for you, it's about returning these artifacts, and you're focusing on, are they maintained well here when they return? But for us, we are looking to create, sites of cultural dialogue that are focused towards the future. I want to create, a hub for creative industries around these objects, and turn this into something positive. And I think that's where the film industry can also play a really important role to deal with the past, but to turn it into something that we can learn from, and that improves our partnerships.
Thank you. So we have to wrap up, but really quickly, can you tell me a bit more about the Afro, what did you say, Western, Neo-Western?
Yes, I think like Country Queen happened was in November last year. Exactly, I remember that really. Sometimes you get pitch papers that you feel, okay, they lack a lot, but it attracted me directly because, like being also born in or grown up in a former German colony in Burundi, and then being a historian myself. And then it's a guy, the author, is called Cecil Möller. Also, we met also with Friederike last year, and when we had like a premiere from Country Queen at Syrian camp, he came over. We met in person. I think this is the next thing. Really, you have to meet the people. You have to share time, share ideas, and really groove in. And then, at a certain point, Cecil, Ravi, me, we really said, we agreed. Jamo, another guy also working in our team, that let's go for this story. We knew it's going to be difficult because, it's really like about discussing the Nama uprising in the south of Namibia. Also a story that we wouldn't be able to tell. But together with the Namibian partners, we decided, okay, let's go for it. Let's start writing treatment. Let's go for funding. And this is where we are. And we not just got the first treatment. We have like Namibian Film Corporation supporting us, Namibian broadcaster, public broadcaster, NBC, they supporting us. And this is where the problems start that we just discussed. Who's bringing in what kind of money? Like who's paying the whole pre-production? So also like the story booster for now, for Ravi, me, big investment, but we believe in it. And especially in this story, we really, really believe, because I think Germany, maybe also before you, there was a reason like why is now the momentum. I think many, many little discussions are going on, which is very, very interesting. And it's about geopolitics, but it's also about like cycles, like a big like cycle is ending, to my opinion, the cycle that Europe really invents itself in contradiction to Africa, and now we really see this doesn't work anymore. It's just a big lie, especially young people. They want to see the world different, and also like there's so many Afropeans here around. So we have a common history, we have these common stories, but they are not told yet. So I think, and the story of that we are going to tell is really is core for the German remembrance, and also like you said, and also like Friederike, the impact that films can have in a country. Like if you have a country like Namibia, and the most well-known local hero, the one who opposed against the colonial force, the colonial terror, there's no film about him. There's no remembrance. The only film was done, I think, in '83, very strange German film that tried to discuss that. I think, avant la lettre, before really post-colonial thinking was on its way. And it got stuck until today. Somehow really crazy. Now we have 2024 and we haven't seen one film discussing what Germans did in Namibia. How can that be?
Yeah. May I just add to it?
Yeah,
just in a nutshell. So, just in a nutshell, I think that's. And
also maybe for the moment, just to continue again, like also with the people we work together, some of them have German heritage. They don't know about the heritage. So there's a lot of stories that are underneath.
Yeah.
So we're not talking to Namibians, no. I mean, or to the idea of the African other. No.
Just, if I may, I don't know, what's the time?
30 seconds.
Do you have a second? Just a second. Yes, and also to add to that,
No, not time.
yes. There is a momentum. We're talking about the momentum, right? So we got another project funded, which is called What the Hell, which is a Kenyan-German thriller. It's a polit thriller. And talking with the film fund in one was in July. So what they said is like, we saw Country Queen. And now first time we see that a storyline, which also plays partly or in Kenya, could also apply to German audience. And that's what was quite interesting. Yeah. So you can see then now how this series we were talking about in the beginning, how this project opened doors and pushes for the momentum. So that's the second.
And maybe one last point also to say is that also for the Story Booster, which is important, that Canal Plus attracted us because also they had a project funded already by Canal Plus and also by French public money. And now we're trying, we love the story. And again, it's a story by Alex Ogoul, a very famous director from Ivory Coast, together with a French African couple. So the world is very diverse, and the story is really a story shared between the rural Burkina Faso landscape, a little village with the daughter, and she works as a physician in Germany. So again, the stories are there, and the stories are not new, but they have to be told.
Yeah. So thank you. That was awesome. Really quickly, don't turn it off. Really quickly, tell us where to watch Country Queen again and your website so we can look up the projects.
Yes, it's a Ravi Karma fiction right now, but we are setting up a website soon for the Good Story Booster, preparing. But if you look at ravikarmafiction.com, you can see already a variety of co-production ideas which are on the move right now. So some of them in production already. You will find also a link to Country Queen, to What the Hell, the Kenyan-German thriller, and so on and so on. So you might have a look. Thank you.
Thank you very much.